Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. A'udhu billahi min shururi anfusina wa min sayyati a'malina. Man yahdihillahu fala mudilla lah wa man yudlilhu fala hadiya lah. Wa nashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa nashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluh arsalahu bil huda wa dinil haqqi ليظهره على الدين كله وكفى بالله شهيدا بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الغمة وجاهد في سبيل الله حق جهاده حتى أتى اليقين فصلوات الله وسلامه عليه. My respected brothers and sisters, may Allah's peace, His guidance, His mercy, His forgiveness and His protection be with you in this life and the next stage of life, the stage of grave, and then inshallah the day when we all be taken out from our graves and brought in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on day of judgment. Ameen thumma ameen ya rabbal alameen. Inshallah we start the program from one of the ayat from Surah Sad, which is 38th chapter, ayah number 29, and then we move on to the recitation of Quran and then the translation and then the Tafsir. And today inshallah we will use Tafsir As-Siddi, Tafsir Ibn Jarir At-Tabari, Tafsir Al-Qurtubi and some portions from Tafsir Ibn Kathir inshallah. So first this the ayah about from Surah Sad, which Quran, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said about this Quran in Quran, and it says بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم كتاب أنزلناه مباركا ليدبروا آياته وليتذكر أولو الألباب صدق الله العظيم. That this is a book, this Quran, which we have sent down to you, full of blessings, that you may ponder, you may think about its ayat, and that the people of understanding may be reminded by it. صدق الله العظيم. The purpose of revelation of Quran, my respected brothers and sisters, and you know better than I do, is that all other divine book, not only Quran, all other unadulterated divine books, is to instruct people about what to do. There are only two purposes: what to do and what not to do. Then the subcategories, it shows that if you do, then what is the reward? If you don't do, what is the the punishment of it, or how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or some of the things which you refrain from, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would reward you for your refrainment from deliberate disobedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The divine books invite people to learn and practice what they read. Whatever you read in Quran, you need to learn from it and you need to practice it. Otherwise, you did not read it. It's not even considered a reading if you don't understand what you read and don't adapt what you have read or learned from any book. The divine book provide us relief, my respected brothers and sisters, and reduce the burden that this life is not the end. Don't consider, it tells us that don't think that whatever the goodness you have, whatever the rewards you are receiving, or whatever the benefits you are reaping here, or so in this life, are permanent. Or whatever sadness and whatever trial and tribulation you're going through, that is not permanent either. This is only a life. This life is not end of journey, but the beginning of the journey, a part of the journey, and it will end. This journey will end at meeting with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So it in turn it prepares us for meeting with our Creator, and that's what we need to keep in our mind all the time, and that's another purpose of Quran, to remind us that. Today's ayat will be from ayah number 263 to 265 of Surah Al-Baqarah. First, inshallah, recitation of these ayat, and then inshallah the translation and the tafsir of the ayah. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قول معروف ومغفرة خير من صدقة صدقة يتبعها أذى والله غني حليم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لا تبطلوا صدقاتكم بالمن والأذى كالذي ينفق ماله رئاء الناس ولا يؤمن بالله واليوم الآخر فمثله كمثل صفوان عليه تراب فأصابها وابل فتركه صلدا لا يقدرون على شيء مما كسبوا والله لا يهدي القوم الكافرين ومثل الذين ينفقون أموالهم لهم ابتغاء مرضات الله وتثبيتا من أنفسهم كمثل ربوة أصابها وابل فاتت أكلها ضعفين فإن لم يصبها وابل فطل والله بما تعملون بصير صدق الله العظيم. And now the translation of these three ayat: kind words and forgiving the faults are better than any act of charity following injury or hurting someone's feeling. And Allah is rich means self-sufficient and free of all needs, and He is most forbearing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You who believed, do not invalidate your charities with reminders or injury as the one who spends his wealth only to show off to people. And he actually does not believe in Allah and the last day. His example is like that of a large smooth rock upon which there is dust, and a heavy rain comes and leaves it bare clean, means the dirt is removed completely from it. The soil is removed completely from it. They won't be able to benefit from anything they have earned. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not guide the disbelieving people. And the third ayat, and the parable and the example of those who spend their possessions seeking Allah's pleasure while they remain certain that Allah will reward them is the example of a garden on a higher hill. Heavy rain falls on it and it doubles its produce, doubles its harvest. And if it does not rain heavy, the light rain suffices it. And Allah is all knower and all seer of everything what you do. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. Tafsir of ayat number 263, my respected brothers and sisters. We'll start with a hadith narrated in Sahih Muslim by Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu, that Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu said that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, charity does not decrease wealth. Charity does not decrease wealth. Allah increases the honor and status of those who forgive each other and give and humble themselves. They give and they humble themselves for the sake of Allah without showing off to people. Another hadith which is narrated in Sahih al-Bukhari from Sayyidina Abu Hurairah radiyallahu anhu said that the Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, there is sadaqah for every joint of the human body. There is a reward from every joint of the human body for sadaqah, and for every day the sun rises, there is a reward equal to the reward of sadaqah for the one who establishes justice among people. Well, by that virtue of the hadith, all the leadership of so-called Muslim countries is out of it. There is no justice, so they are not being rewarded. And that's what we are all going down collectively. Coming back to the ayah, kind words. قَوْلٌ مَّعْرُوفٌ وَصَدَقَةٌ خَيْرٌ مِّن صَدَقَةٍ يَتْبَعُهَا أَذًى. That kind words and forgiving the faults are better than the acts of sadaqah, which is followed by injury. are hurting somebody's feeling. If someone is genuinely incapable, my respected brothers and sisters, to give anything, financially help somebody, giving zakat, which is mandatory charity, and voluntary charity, which is sadaqat and khairat. If they don't have it, they cannot help somebody financially, then at least they can speak in gentle manner, a better word to somebody else, making deserving people feel a little better going through their hardship, and giving them and continue to give them hope in life, because you don't have anything to give somebody. Whatever you can give in sadaqah, you should give. But the mandatory charity, which is zakah, if you don't have, if you don't have enough to count as a sadaqah, as a zakat, then you cannot give zakat. But sadaqah, you can give whatever you have. No matter how little it is, you should give from the goodness of your heart, for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, not to get reward from people. This is much better than outward show of charity with no inward dimension, my respected brothers and sisters. That a person does not have anything in the heart to give, but he has enough that he can afford to give. So he gives so people would say that, look how charitable this guy is. Look how generous that woman is. She did this or he did this for us, or for our masjid, or for our schools and things like that. The words and deed of hope and practicality, helping someone through encouragement during the hardship of life, are far better than a huge amount of charity that follows by reminders that I'm the one who did this for you. I'm the one who I gave this to you. And the reproach of people and demands of praise, that you should say thank to me. You should accept me as your leader. You should do this and you should do that. That is all show off for people. It's not for cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another hadith, Sahih Muslim narrated that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, a good word is sadaqah, and it is required for you to meet your brother, to meet another person with a cheerful and a smiling face. With a cheerful and a smiling face. Islam teaches us to even meet beggars. When somebody comes and asks, meet the beggar with a smile on your face, so that they will be thankful if you give something to them, and they would not feel bad and forgive you if you don't have anything to give to them. But you should be seeing them with a smile on your face. Sayyidina Umar narrated in one of the hadith about Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam saying that when a beggar comes to you, do not interrupt him until and allow him to finish his plea. But they are saying that I'm in this much trouble and I need this and I have this and I have that. Just listen to it. Listen to it. And listen to that person with leniency in your heart. It could be you in place of him. Give something if you can. Or at least give a gentle reply to the person that I'm sorry, I don't have anything that I can give you right now. Remember the ayah, وَأَمَّا السَّائِلَ فَلَا تَنْهَرْ. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is an ayah in one of the chapters in Quran. And Allah is, and the next portion of the ayah is, and Allah is rich. Rich means what? Self-sufficient. Each and every person, the richest of the rich and the poorest of the poor, all of us, richest of our rich and poorest of our poor, we are all dependent on Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help. But only Allah is free of all need. You cannot show me, there is nobody in existence or was or will be in existence today, men or women, young or old, short or tall, or fat or slim. You can't find somebody who is free of all needs. Free of all needs. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one who is free of all needs, and He is most forbearing. Wallahu ghani al-halim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is ghani, means rich beyond any need. He orders us to be generous to others in their genuine need, so He can reward and forgive our sins. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, my respected brothers and sisters, and you know better than I do. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us this opportunity that we should give in cause of Allah, so He should reduce the burden of our sin and increase the reward of our good deeds. That is the reason to give. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala calls Himself Wallahu Ghaniyun Halim. What's the meaning of Halim? Halim means patient and forbearing. He delays the punishment. He is forbearing, that He delays the punishment of a wrongdoer, giving him the opportunity so he can repent. That is the quality. That's one of the Asma Allahul Husna of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That is one of the most beautiful names of Allah, which gives the entire humanity hope that Allah is not punishing them right now, so He's giving them opportunity so they can repent. So now we move on to the next ayah, which is ayah number 264. And in its tafsir, we will take the first portion of the ayah where it says, O you who have believed, do not invalidate your charities with reminders or injury, as does the one who spends his wealth only to show off to people, and he actually does not believe in Allah and the last day. This is a very severe warning, my respected brothers and sisters. Those who do something for somebody and then go there and put a sign on the wall, that this portion of this madrasa or this school or this college or university was paid, or this section of the masjid was built from the money of such and such family. And then you put the name of the person and his wife and his grandmother and grandfather and father-in-law and father-outlaw. All those names are there. That this portion is built because of the generosity of such and such. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives an example of those people equal to those who don't believe on Allah and do not believe on Day of Judgment. No matter how much they pray, no matter they lead prayers and they do Hajj every day, and they stay fasting all their life. Okay, but as long as they spend and they remind people that you are taking this thing, or I'm giving all this money to you for your needs, or I'm doing this for you for this reason, and then you put a sign on that section of the masjid or a school or an orphanage, and then put your name on it, that is equal to denying Allah and denying the Day of Judgment. وَأَيَادُ بِاللَّهِ وَاللَّهِ. This portion of the ayah means that do not let the rewards of your charitable spending in the cause of Allah, which you say that it is in the cause of Allah, to go in waste and wane by reminding the taker or anyone else about that you gave this much or you donated this much, and that the people should be thankful to you and they should say your praises. They should say your praises. That is not an act of charity, and that is not acceptable, not good enough to be rewarded by Allah, even if you have given billions and you reminded people of it. In chapter Fatir, which is 35th chapter, ayah number 15, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and He reminded us, from the richest of our rich to the poorest of our poor. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ya ayyuhan nasu, antumul fuqara'u ila Allah. Wallahu huwal ghaniyul hamid. That, O mankind, you are all poor in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You are all poor. You're not rich, you're poor. You are dependent, you are in need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's mercy and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's forgiveness, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's to take care of your affairs. Because you are constantly in need of Allah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need of anything. You are dependent and in absolute need of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He is absolutely dependent. That's why He is Khaliq, and you are Makhluq, that He is absolutely dependent of all His creation, and all of us are absolutely dependent on everything which we get from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And only Allah is all wealthy and self-sufficient. Wallahu huwal ghaniyul hamid means that He is all wealthy and self-sufficient. Famous Turkish reviver of Turkey, reviver of Islamic understanding, mujtahid, scholar, philosopher, and teacher, I would say, teacher of generation, and I love his books, and I studied his book, Sayyidina Badi'uz Zaman, Sayyid Nursi, Rahmatullah alayh, says, and let me quote him directly from his book, and it says, as Sayyidina Badi'uz Zaman, Sayyid Nursi, Rahmatullah alayh, said, our knowledge and realization of our essential poverty and total dependence on Allah leads us to the divine name of the All-Merciful, by which we find inexhaustible, unending treasures of self-satisfaction and patience. Self-satisfaction and patience. You have trust in Allah, you believing that Allah is the only one who can fulfill my needs. I'm in need of His help. So you are seeking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's help and understand that He is the one who is fulfilling my needs. He further said, Sayyid Badi'uz Zaman, Sayyid Nursi Rahmatullah alayh, further said that our acknowledgement of our essential helplessness and our constant need of His mercy. We cannot stand Allah's wrath. We cannot stand Allah's anger. If it doesn't come today, it will come if we made Him angry, if we do not follow Him and His ordinance, and if we don't seek repentance. So he further says that our constant need of His mercy lead us to the divine name of Al-Aziz, means the all-powerful. There is no one more powerful than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And by which, Sayyid Badi'uz Zaman, Sayyid Nursi Rahmatullah said, and by which we find the real source of power. And the real source of power is the faith which you have in your heart. That is through the looking at the all-powerful and understanding His divine mercy towards us and His love toward us, we get the power of faith. He further says, considering ourselves powerful at any age, independent and self-existent without Allah, we fall into the darkest pits of intellectual non-existence. Your downfall starts by thinking that you are independent of Allah and you are self-existent. You are yourself powerful without Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. In other words, Sayyid Nursi said, in other words, relying on your personal existence without the mercy and benevolence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and ignoring His commandments drowns us ephemeral personal existence in the infinite darkness of loss and non-existent. When we abandon pride and egoism and recognize that we are only the mirror in which the real Creator manifests Himself, we must realize that we need to keep the inner mirror clean, your heart and your mind and your thoughts and your action and your deeds clean, to keep that pure image. Keep that pure image in your clean heart and infinite, and that brings you infinite success. Without it, infinite success is impossible. If we realize and recognize the most powerful, the most competent being, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the manifestation of whose names causes all things to come into existence and survive and thrive and remain there as long as He wants. As long as He wants. And then we find the purpose of life in everything. And that cleans our actions and that brings us close to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. End quote. From may Allah's mercy, and I always pray for him, may Allah be merciful to our Shaykh Badi'uz Zaman Sayyid Nursi Rahmatullah alayh. What we give my respected brothers and sisters, we need to understand that what we give to anybody is not giving, we are not giving from something which we own, which is something we have, but that thing was given to us by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at a certain time, a certain point. And then He tells us that in case of zakat, which is mandatory charity, that if you have this much you should give, you are told to keep. Look at the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Look at the benevolence of Allah. Look at the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on every one of us, that He tells that if He has given you, you keep 97.5% with you. 97.5% is yours. Is spent on the right thing. First thing is to earn from the right thing. Then you spend on the right thing. But 2.5% of your entire possession you should give in cause of Allah, and that is the mandatory charity. This is mercy of Allah, that He could have said, say, keep 50% and give 50%. No, He is telling you to keep 97.2%, 97.5%, and give 2.5% to the poor and the deserving people where you are. Further, Almighty Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, La tubtilu sadaqatikum bil manni wal adha. Almighty Allah reminds us, this is Tafsir al-Siddi said, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warns us by saying that the accountability of reminders to the taker, whoever benefited from your good acts, if you constantly remind him, the accountability of the reminders, injuring the feeling of the takers of your good deeds, reproach and demand of recognition from an individual or from a community, that I built this masjid, I have the right to stand in the first line behind the imam, or I should be the imam, only I authorize who can lead prayer here and who cannot enter my masjid. If you do that and display of your good acts, nullify the rewards of your charity. Allah nullifies the reward of the good deed. Further, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us, كَالَّذِي يُنْفِقُ مَا لَهُ رِيَاءَ النَّاسِ وَلَا يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. That the spending to show off and looking for the praise from people, announcing your acts of charity, putting a sign on the wall that this section is built from the money of so and so and his wife and his father-in-law. If you do that, it says that the reminder announcing your act of charity and desire of recognition by individuals or the community, and the reminders of charitable acts is equal to like you have denied Allah and you have denied the day of judgment. You go in any of our masajid, majority of the masajid, I shouldn't say all, some they don't, but then it says that this masjid was built by so and so, this section was done by so and so. You go to orphanage, there are names of the people. These are people, those who did not know, were not looking for the acceptance and reward by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They were looking for people's recognition in this life. Well, they got it. They put a sign over there. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala called them, these are the one, those who deny Allah's existence, and these are the one, their example is the one who denies the day of judgment, who denies Allah. The boasting person says that he gives for Allah's sake, but actually seeking, this is Tafsir al-Qur'an, says the boasting person says that he gives for Allah's sake, but actually seeking people's praise. The reputation of being kind or generous, that's what they want. And other benefits. Well, this person gives me $50,000 a year to our masjid. Now let's make him the president of the masjid. When we looking for benefits and rewards of this life, by taking control of affairs of an individual or a community or a business or a masjid or a school, then we are one of those who are denying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and denying day of judgment. The givers, the requirement towards the giver is that he should humble himself, that Allah made him able to do this, made him able to give, so he should give, hidden from people. Yes, he has to talk to somebody that today this month or this year I have to give you this much money. He has to talk to somebody, but request that please don't tell anybody. Please don't tell anybody. I don't want a plaque, I don't want a sign, I don't want people to know that where did this come from, but I want to give in cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and my reward is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So that is a good act. That is the good act. And that person who gives without people noticing and knowing about it is the one who believes on Allah and looking for the reward in this life and in qabr, in his grave, and on the day of judgment. The act of charity, continuing Tafsir al-Qurtubi, the acts of charity for the sake of Allah and for gaining His pleasure and His reward are negated by announcing and displaying our charities. In another ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah An-Nisa, 4th chapter, ayah number 36, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says something very reaffirms that how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala considered that kind of people. Inna Allah la yuhibbu man kana mukhtalan fakhura. That Allah does not like means He rejects, He hates, He doesn't want. That Allah does not like those who are self-deluding, proud and boastful. Go somewhere and say, look, you looking that door in that masjid, I installed it. You look at that security system, there is a little sign. Brother so-and-so donated the security system, Allahu Akbar. Go get life. And why we make those mistakes? Because we don't know Quran. That's why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, come to Quran. That come to Quran and then learn from it. We just read Quran, we don't learn from it, and we don't implement it because we did not spend enough time with Quran. In chapter, Al-Qur'an further quoted Ad-Dahak rahmatullah alayh, saying that these are those who follow up their acts of charity with reminders that harm and hurts the feeling of people. The taker thinks that he is always there telling me, oh, how are you doing? How is the goat which I gave you? You know, how did you like the taste of the food which I sent to your house? You know, did you pray for me? These are the things. Ad-Dahak said that these are those who follow up their acts of charity and reminders that harm and put their acts for public viewing, not for sake of Allah. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would not reward them. But as a matter of fact, that act becomes a reason to receive the punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Punishment from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala further mentions that his example is that of a smooth rock which was covered with soil on which heavy rain falls. And when the rain falls, it stripped that rock off completely bare, completely stripped. The word mathalu, my respected brothers and sisters, means that they are examples. Mathaluhu, his or their example or parable is. The next word, kamathali, just like the example of. The third word, safwan. You know, safwan means a smooth, bare, shiny rock which is nothing on it. That is called safwan. فَأَصَابَهَا وَابِلٌ. Asabaha, falls upon, or suffered, or affected from. Means فَأَصَابَهُ وَابِلٌ. Wabil means very heavy rain that removes and washes and cleans off anything clinging on anything. Just separates the original thing from whatever was on top of it, separates it. That would call a very heavy rain wabil, which makes things bare completely. Salda, the word means leaving something spotless, which was covered or protected by something before. The portion of this ayah means that heavy rain leaves the rock completely barren of dust, which does not grow anything on it. A rock cannot grow anything on it. It needs soil on it. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala deal with the actions and work and deeds of those. This is Tafsir Al-Qur'an, that deeds of those who show off, remind or injure the feeling of those who are receiving the acts of charity. Who are receiving the acts of the charity. Their deeds are not recorded into their account, even though they think that their charity will benefit them here or in hereafter. Almighty Allah gives an example of a smooth rock covered with soil. We think that it is fertile and good earth, but then comes the heavy downpour and washes off all the dirt from that rock, and you cannot do you cannot grow anything. No fruits, no vegetation can grow on a bare rock. So this is the example Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala say. And then Allah the Almighty further said they won't be able to benefit from anything they have earned. Because when somebody spends something, he should have earned something against it. But because they spent and they reminded people, or they spent and they asked people to put a sign on their name, so people will praise them and say that how good and how generous this wonderful family is. Okay? Nobody really cares where that wonderful family earned that money from, and we will cover that in the tafsir of the next ayah, inshallah. This portion tells us that Allah does not accept any act of generosity or charity when the giver reminded the taker or the others put a sign on anything he does or gives for an individual or community, so people would thank him and praise him and give him position and authority in their affairs and agree with him in all things. Somebody donates a land and say, build a masjid on it. Okay? They build a masjid. Now that person is chairman of that masjid for next 50 years. Well, he got the reward. The chairmanship was the reward. There is no reward for your action with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You got the reward. You destroyed the community or built the community or did whatever you did, but you took the reward by people saying, oh, so and so is so generous. So and so is so generous. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is talking about, and where it says, La yaqdiruna ala shay'in mimma kasabu. Whatever reward they could have received from doing an act for the sake of Allah, from an halal earned money, they did not get any reward for doing that act, because they went there and reminded people, they went there, they put sign, they went there, they hurt the injured the feeling of somebody who was on the receiving end. Well, the giver forgot that every minute, every breath we inhale or exhale, we are dependent on the most merciful Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we are not on the giving end, we are on the taking end every breath. How can a faqir give somebody? Ya ayyuhan nasu antumul fuqara'u ila Allah. So my respected brothers and sisters, this is an example. If we have time, I will quote this example. My respected brothers and sisters, Almighty Allah in chapter Hud, which is chapter 11 in ayah number 114, says, بعد أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحسنات يذهبن السيئات ذلك ذكرى للذاكرين. ذلك ذكرى للذاكرين means verily the good deeds, the good acts of charity without reminders, verily the good deeds remove the bad deeds. That is a reminder only for those who accept a good advice from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Almighty Allah expects the doer of a good deed to be mindful. To be mindful. What kind of mindlessness is this, my respected brothers and sisters, that we do a good deed and we don't get any reward for it from Allah? This is mindlessness. That we use Allah's name, that I am giving this zakat to so and so. I'm giving sadaqat, khairat, and this and that in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and then go out, tell people, or put a sign on it. That is mindlessness. Innal hasanatu yudhibna sayyat. Innal hasanati yudhibna sayyat. And this understanding is only for those who are mindful. This is, sheer mindlessness. That someone does a good deed, goes out, tells people, put a sign of his name on it, reminds and demands respect and praise. Is that not mindlessness? It is mindlessness. People put Quran in masjid. Donate 50 books, 50 Quran, or 10 Qurans, or 2 Qurans, and write on the first page, this Quran is donated by such and such family. Allahu Akbar. Such a generous act. Allah needed your generosity. And you're doing it in the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Instead of receiving the rewards from Almighty Allah, the giver chooses to get praise and rewards from people, whose reward is more long-lasting and lasting forever than the reward of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. His good deeds are turned into bad deeds. It should be innal hasanati yudhibna sayyat, that the good deed, removes the bad deeds. Here the good deed gave him more bad deeds. To remove and nullify his bad deed, it was supposed to be. Unfortunately, people do this. They donate furniture, food, iftar. Iftar is another thing. We just came out of Ramadan. It is announced almost every Friday or every day in some of the masajid, and there are signs that tonight's iftar is provided by such and such family. Do you have to really announce that you are giving food? Do you announce every day that Allah is feeding you? You don't. You're not even thankful to Allah that He is feeding you. You're not even thankful that He's letting you inhale and exhale. Forget about food. A dead body doesn't eat. that body have to be inhaling and a person have to be inhaling and exhaling to benefit from food or drink. You don't announce that Allah is so merciful on me that Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, He fed me today, I was hungry. But you have to announce that who is feeding, who is today's iftar. Well, somebody have to go to the masjid to make an arrangement with the masjid, the management of the masjid. That is fine. It should just stay right there. That you went there, you ask the masjid, that you offer that I want to provide iftar for whoever is there tonight, with dinner or with no dinner, iftar only, whatever it is. Whatever you can afford. 2, 3 people, 4 people, 5 people will put together and give iftar, because they cannot do more than that. One person cannot do it. So you do it, but you make the arrangement, but don't put a sign out there and don't announce. We announce it, proudly announce it. And then the announcement will be that a brother so-and-so is here. Please stand up. The brother will stand up. He said, this is the brother who is doing iftar today. Allahu Akbar. End of the ajr, end of the thawab, end of the reward. He got it from 200 people. So that is not the announcement, putting the signs that who is donating the iftar nullifies the reward. And good act is converted into individual and collective sin. Tafsir Ibn Kathir and Tafsir Ibn Jarir al-Tabari. The good act is converted by those individuals as an individual and collective sin by asking to be announced. Tell people that he is providing it. Zakat given to somebody or in other good causes, either it is in good cause or to a person who is deserving. And if your announcement, if you telling him that this is zakat money which I am giving you, mandatory charity money which I am giving you, if it hurts his feeling, then it is better in Islam. Islam teaches us it is better to give without saying that this is zakat. But poor and deserving, homeless, people, those who are downtrodden, people, those who are discriminated against, they have a right on our zakat. We take zakat money and we are building masajid from it. We need to wake up and we need to think, and we need not to do that. This is violating Allah's limit. Quran says that you cannot use zakat money. Gives us specific means where zakat money should be used. We are spending zakat money and collecting zakat money and spending to build a masjid. Zakat can be given to somebody. Okay, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that beware of demanding gratitude for your charity. It invalidates. This is a hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. It invalidates thankfulness and completely erases the rewards of your good deed. Then he recited this ayah number 264 of 2nd chapter. Sayyidina Imam Malik said, beware in announcing your zakah and sadaqat and letting people know that you are doing it. People may praise your generosity, but Allah may punish you for it. That you told people that you're doing this. We have about 17 minutes, inshallah. We'll finish all 3 ayat this session, inshallah. Because we covered the introduction, but difference between zakah and sadaqah 2 weeks ago. The last portion of this ayah, it says, it is the part of the faith to do good deed. It is part of the faith to do good deeds sincerely as Allah watches our deeds, and refrain from demanding gratitude, praise, or recompense from the taker or the community, or cause them insult or injure their feeling. This is all against Islam, my respected brothers and sisters, that somebody gives money and wants to be secretary of the masjid. We have those examples. We elect a board and the chairman would remain for life. Why? Because he provided door of the masjid, or he has this much money, or he gave the land. These are not the acts of piety. These are not being accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that acts of piety which would be rewarded. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not guide those people. These are the people, those Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this ayah of Quran before this tells us, وَلَا يُؤْمِنُ بِاللَّهِ وَالْيَوْمِ الْآخِرِ. These are the people, those who don't believe on Allah. And these are the people, those who don't believe on day of judgment, that someday they will be held accountable and they will be asked, why did you do it? They continue to do these things just for their lust for power and chair. I have suggested for some people, when this person dies, please, his chair is contaminated, bury his chair with him. So when that generation or that person is gone, nobody else sits on that chair and get contaminated. The last portion of the ayah, this ayah is a warning for those who show off and those who demand gratitude by the community, the board members, by the community in general, by the poor and rich and everybody else, and allow this guy to continuously do whatever he does. And even people know that he is doing something wrong, but they will keep quiet because he built that masjid. Allahu Akbar. The last portion of the ayah shows, is a warning for those who show off and those who demand gratitude from people or the community or an individual that they have earned, and now they should know that this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala warns them that they have no reward in this dunya or in akhirah, and Allah is not going to guide them. Look, my respected brothers and sisters, we always say, may Allah guide so and so. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide those who seek guidance, accept guidance, understand guidance, and start following guidance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to guide somebody who does not want to be guided. There have to be a desire, there have to be a knowledge, and there have to be enough knowledge of Quran for a person to understand that if I don't deserve something, I should not really accept it, even if it is offered to me. Even if it is offered to me. No, we demand that because I did such and such good deed, gave such and such, or the community so much in charity, in name of Allah, now I should be the leader of that community. And a stupid community accept that demand. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not guide those people who do not follow this commandment. This is simple logic. It's not even wisdom. This is simple logic. You don't follow the commandments, you're going to get a ticket. You're not going to be rewarded for going through a red light. You are going to, nobody saw it, but if somebody would have seen it, you will get a ticket, right? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala sees everything which you do. So it is that act should not be rewarded. We sit there, we reward these people, and then they complain, well, we have lack of leadership. Well, we allow these people to take the leadership. And now we move on to the tafsir of the next ayah, ayah number 265, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, and the example of those who spend their possessions seeking Allah's pleasure, while they are sure and certain that Allah will reward them, is the likeness of a garden on a higher plain, on a hill. Heavy rain falls on it, and it doubles its yield. Its harvest is produced, and it does not receive, even if it does not receive heavy rain, light rain is sufficient enough for it. And Allah is all-knower and seer of all what you do. In this ayah, Almighty Allah gives the example of those who spend their rightful earned possessions with purity of their heart in the cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, without reminders or praise from people or without putting a sign on the wall. A Siddi, believe me, my respected brothers and sisters, you may have been in masajid, I definitely have been in so many masajid where there is a spot reserved in the first saf. If the guy does not show up, that spot remains empty. Nobody is allowed to stand there waiting till he may come up in the second rakat of the salah. That's the guy who gave the land or who built the masjid. They save a spot for him. He's getting rewarded here. You stand in the first saf, that's it, end of the story. So, those who spend rightfully earned possessions with purity of heart in cause of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, without reminders or praise from people are installing a sign. As-Siddi, rahmatullah alayh, At-Tabari, Ibn Jarir At-Tabari, and Al-Qur'an, rahmatullah alayh, said that as for the portion where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, the مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ يُنْفِقُونَ أَمْوَالَهُمْ لَهُمُ ابْتِغَاءَ مَرْضَاتِ اللَّهِ وَتَثْبِيتًا مِنْ أَنفُسِهِمْ, that Sayyidina Mujahid and Sayyidina Hasan radiyallahu anhu said that when someone gives sadaqah, he must first examine his source of income. His source of income. There is no sadaqah from haram. Okay, so he must first examine his source of income, and then question his own intentions to be purely and undoubtedly for the sake of Almighty Allah and not praise from people, and do it without announcing it, or keep the people, those who know that you did it, very, very limited, and don't let the public know about it. You know, if you are in the management of the masjid, the person can come, talk to the management, 2-3 people sit down, and they accept or reject whatever he is given. Only then, a good, faithful person believing on Allah and all His books and all His messengers and on Day of Judgment, only then that person should give. Not before. His source of income must be rightful. His intention should not be that there would be a sign on the building or anything which he does. People will know about it, or people will be told about it. Brother, stand up, he gave $10,000. We see it in every fundraising, man. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's a joke. They further said, these scholars, Mujahid rahmatullah alayh and Al-Hasan rahmatullah alayh, further said that if it is truly for Allah, he should give. If it is mixed with doubts that some people might find out, he should refrain from it until his or her intention is pure and people would not find out about the act of charity he just performed. Ash-Sha'bi ibn Zayd As-Siddi Al-Qartabi quoted Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas radiyallahu anhu and Sayyidina Qatada saying that the giver must examine his or her motives. His or her motives. Why are you giving? Well, I'm giving because I want reward from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in my grave, or on Day of Judgment. It should be in my book of deed on Day of Judgment. So I would. That's why I'm doing this act. So they said that his motive and his source of income, and that the earning and spending is in act of obedience. In act of Allah's obedience, not in defiance of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's limit. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives the example and says, كَمَثَلِ جَنَّةٍ بِرَبْوَةٍ أَصَابَهَا وَابِلٌ. Jannah means a garden, such as a piece of land covered with beneficial vegetation and trees which shades it, and there are rivers in it. This is the Tafsir al-Tabari and Tafsir al-Qartabi says that. The word Rabwa means a hillside, as an elevated place which has a thicker layer of good and fertile earth will be called Rabwa. If it is not a hillside, it's a plain, it's not Rabwa. It is a hillside which gets the rain. This is another quality of some land to be called Rabwa, that it is a hillside, a fertile land which gets the heavy rain, but it never gets floods or flash floods. So the word wabil, as described earlier, that means that heavy downpour. The phrase فَآتَتْ أُكُلَهَا ضِعْفَيْنِ means that the heavy rain benefits it and it doubles its produce. ضِعْفَيْن means double, to double. فَآتَتْ أُكُلَهَا, atat means gives. Ukulaha, the produce which comes out of it, which can benefit, which can be eaten by people or animal or anything, okay, which is beneficial produce. Doubles, that is from that Jannah, birabwatin, asabaha wabilun, fa'atat ukulaha di'fain. As-Siddi and Al-Qur'an and Ibn Kathir quoted Sayyidina Abdullah ibn Abbas, Sayyidina Mujahid, and many others saying that the portion of the ayah means that when the heavy rain comes, it doesn't flood, but it increases its produce and land becomes more fertile. And when it does not rain heavy, it drizzles. Even the dew and fog containing moisture is sufficient for its produce for that garden to give its produce. The ayah means that those who earn from the rightful means and they give from the heart, from their heart, for the sake of Allah, and do not tell anyone what they have given, their rewards is just like a fertile land which continues to produce rewards from that land. here from that fertile land on the hillside, which gets heavy rain or even gets a drizzle or a little bit of fog, or the clouds which contains moisture, that their rewards are for here, and also for in the grave, and also on the day of judgment. And Allah multiplies their rewards. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala multiplies their rewards. We have 5 minutes, my respected brothers and sisters. We come into the end, inshallah. And the next part of the ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Wallahu bima ta'amaluna basir. And Allah is all knower and seer of all what you do. This is the good news, my respected brothers and sisters, and this is also a warning. Good news for those who give for the sake of Allah, from the rightful earning, from the earnings. That if somebody sits there and sells marijuana and gives and donate masjid to money to masjid, astaghfirullah, that is a haram on haram. And people know that the person's source of income is not correct, and they accept his money. They are also sinning. They are also sinning, and they are also the people, those who do not believe on Allah and do not believe on day of judgment. Their reward is with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who give for the sake of Allah from the rightful means, and their reward is here and in the grave and on the day of judgment. Other than that, the person who puts a sign, his reward is only here. And his punishment will be in day of he will be questioned harshly in the grave, and he will be punished on day of judgment unless he repents and removes all those signs and plates which he put in with his name on it and his, what you call father outlaw and mother outlaw's name on it. And the bad news, this ayah, Wallahu bima ta'amaluna basir, that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is knower and seer of all what you do, is a good news and a bad news. Bad news for those who remind people about their acts of charity. They walk so boastfully, they walk so proudly in front of people that I built this masjid, now this is mine. You built it as the house of Allah, and you every Friday and every day you collect money for it, but you still call it your house. Wake up. And they remind people of their act of charity and install sign that they did such and such good deed for sake of Allah. Still call it for sake of Allah. That is not the teaching of Islam. Their recompense will be serious accountability and punishment. It is up to Allah who He punishes, who He forgives. I'm not hoping that that person gets punished. I'm hoping that that person open his eyes and repent, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forgives him. But he needs to do that, not me. None of His servants, good, bad or ugly, Wallahu bima ta'amaluna basir, means that none of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's servants, none of His creation ever escape from His perfect watch. He watches every good, every bad, and every ugly. It reminds you, my respected brothers and sisters, we have 2 minutes, and I'll end by this story. There is a masjid, big masjid, I don't want to name the city, state, or anything, invited me to speak, and they asked me that you should come and give us a presentation, and what should be the topic. So I told them the topic would be alcohol and intoxicants, all intoxicants. Well, the masjid, including the imam, the president, and not all members of the board, some members of the board, and the imam, they said that no, you should change the topic. And I said, why? Can you give me a reason why I should not talk about alcohol and intoxicants? So they said yes, because most of our donors in this area, those who come to masjid and also donate money to masajid, they have liquor stores or they are alcohol distributors. If you speak against alcohol, then they will stop giving us money. So, and if you start speaking about it in your speech, in our masjid, then we will physically, forcefully remove you from there. So I said, that's fine. You don't have to invite me. Because nobody, anything which is said in Quran, nobody, not even a prophet from Adam alayhi salam, from Adam to Muhammad, nobody is given a right to hide or skip or jump over and go to the next ayah. Don't talk about this, talk about that. Don't talk about this, talk about that. Because the people, those who come to our masjid, they have liquor stores. So when you say you cannot use liquor money in masajid, they will not give us money. So Imam is favoring it, Imam is getting money. Then there are people in the same area and same masjid, those who are selling, they have franchises, food franchises, fast food franchises, and they are selling pork over there, and masjid is willingly taking their money and putting new carpets and putting this and doing that. There are always ways to handle that kind of filthy money. You can build toilets with it, put toilet seats with it, get the toilet paper from their money. Put toilet seats from their money. Why do you have to build musalla from their money? First thing is not to take that money. The haram is haram. Whether you build toilet with it or you build musalla with it, it is haram, it should not be used. He is earning its sin enough. You knowing and taking it is its greater sin, and you, as a matter of fact, encouraging him to continue to do what he does. أقول قولي هذا واستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. Inshallah, we'll make dua. My respected brothers and sisters, this program and programs like this, wherever you get some kind of benefit for you, for your family, and for the others, and especially in my programs, if I make a mistake, for Allah's sake, please correct me. We all learn from each other. We all learn from each other. We need to be humble about whatever we do, and we need to expect Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that may Allah guide me, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide you, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guide the entire humanity. Don't forget the people, those who are not even Muslims, don't forget to make dua for them. Don't make dua for yourself, make dua for them, then may Allah guide everyone. And it may. So inshallah, share it with others, and we make dua. Allahumma rabbana atina fid dunya hasana wa fil akhirati hasana wa qina adhab an-nar wa qina adhab al-qabr wa qina adhab al-hashr wa qina adhab jahannam wa adkhilna al-jannata ma'a al-abrar برحمتك يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. اللهم إنا نسألك إيمانا كاملا ويقينا صادقا ورزقا واسعا وقلبا خاشعا وحلالا طيبا وتوبة نسوها وتوبة قبل الموت وراحة عند الموت والمغفرة عند الحساب والفوز بالجنة والنجاة من النار برحمتك يا عزيز يا غفار يا رب العالمين. اللهم إن لك علينا حقوقا كثيرا فيما بيننا وبينك وعلينا حقوقا كثيرا فيما بيننا وبين خلقك. اللهم ما كان لك منها فاغفره لنا وما كان لخلقك فتحمله عنا وأغننا بحلالك عن حرامك وبطاعتك ماسيتك عمن سواك يا واسع المغفرة. ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك إنا كنا من الظالمين. وصلى الله تعالى على خير خلقه محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. سبحان ربك رب العزة عما يصفون وسلام على المرسلين والحمد لله رب العالمين. والفاتحة. لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله. السلام الله عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. Thank you.